What's up, guys? Welcome to our 2019 ESPN Fantasy Football Primer. And Daniel, I'm going to wade into this one and admit my ignorance. I have never been a part of an auction draft, and you've been chomping at the bit this entire time to tell me why I am an idiot. So why am I an idiot?
Auction drafts are so much fun. It is easily the best way to draft. It takes a little bit longer, and I understand that, but there is so much strategy in it. If there is a player that you want to roster, you absolutely can. You just have to decide how much money do you want to spend on that player. But the idea that I'm constructing my roster, there is no, boy, I wonder if that player is going to fall to me. Oh, I can't believe you took that player out from underneath me. Like, you get to make every single decision and build out your roster exactly the way that you want. There is just so much strategy involved in figuring out, do I want to spend an extra $4 on this guy when I can spend a little bit less money and get this guy? It just takes the drafting to a next level. And I think, especially if you've been playing fantasy for a little while and you've done, snake drafts for most of your career, talk to your league. Have them switch it up. Let's do 1 year of an auction draft. I promise you won't regret it.
The league's getting a little stale. Just invite auction drafting into the bedroom and spice things up a little bit.
No big deal.
If we are going to go down that road, you mentioned there is some strategy involved. And in this case, when we're talking about money, we're talking about budgeting. So how do you go about best budgeting for the different positions you're going to look for?
So what I do, I'll look at whatever your budget is. With ESPN, it's $200. I'll look at my budget and say, okay, how much do I want to spend on running backs? How many running backs do I think I'll want to roster on my team? Understanding the top tier guys are going to cost me $50 or $60 a piece within ESPN standard budgets. So, I'll probably spend 40 or 50% of my budget just on running backs alone, again, with that positional scarcity. Then I'm looking at wide receivers. I'm probably spending 35 to 50% based on how the draft falls and how expensive other players are. Quarterbacks, this is one of those spots where I am not taking a Patrick Mahomes or a Deshaun Watson for an exorbitant amount of money. It's just not worth it with all the guys that you can get cheap in the draft for $2 or $3 that are going to be just as fine. If you can get a Ben Roethlisberger for $3 or a Patrick Mahomes for $35, is Patrick Mahomes going to be literally 10 times more valuable than what Ben Roethlisberger will be? And again, it comes down to, if you just really love Mahomes and you want to roster him, go ahead, go out and do it and put your team together, and you can still absolutely win with him. But I love the strategy involved in that and waiting. And so the other thing is kickers and defenses. Do not nominate a kicker in defense unless you're nominating it for another person for more than $1. They are $1 positions. Never spend more than $1 on those positions. It is just not worth it across the board.
Oh, as an offensive player, that sings to my heart. Get those kickers and defensive players the hell out of the paint. But you kind of mentioned it there, and I think it's one of the interesting things to me as you've been trying to sell me on this, feverishly texting me outside of the group chat in favor of the auction draft style, is the strategy and the sort of human element and knowing who else is in the room for you when you do have the chance to nominate guys.
Oh, absolutely. So I'm born and raised in Michigan, so I have a league that I'm in that is full of a bunch of Lions fans. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to roster Kenny Golladay or Kerryon Johnson. I just know it's not going to happen because I will nominate those players early in the draft and let all of my stupid Detroit Lions friends decide that they're going to spend too much money on those players. And for me, an auction draft is just as much about getting other people to spend their budget as it is about managing your own budget. I mean, there's a huge part of it because a guy like Kerryon in a Michigan league could go for $5 to $10 more than what he actually should. So when you're looking at that, know your league so you can prey upon your fellow managers in your leagues from that standpoint if you know their team allegiances. It's really easy, and that psychological warfare is 100% valuable, and you should absolutely utilize that technique.
All right, see, now I tend to go a little above and beyond, and you're getting me excited. Like, this all sounds as enticing as you made it out to be, but I'd look at it like, let's say when I go to a silent auction, I love to go and try and bid people up, try and make sure I get things at the highest value. Is that a viable strategy in this auction setting?
I mean, to an extent, but you should not be bidding on players that if the bidding just stops, that you do not want to roster yourself. There are a number of times where there'll be that guy in the league that's just click, 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 $1 more, $1 more, $1 more, just trying to get someone to spend more money, which is a strategy in and of itself. But too many times it's going to end where that next player is not going to decide to make a bid. So now you're going to get stuck with DeMarco Murray for $65. Is DeMarco Murray worth $65? Absolutely not. and now he's on your team. You didn't even want to roster DeMarco Murray in the first place, and you just wasted a third of your budget on a player you didn't even want.
And that, my friend, is how you end up with $2,000 worth of Celine Dion tickets after a silent auction.
That's
I'm
it.
not proud of the man that I am at certain times in this. All right, the last one here, because again, this is starting to seem like you can really measure the room, and knowing the people you're drafting with is a big part of it, and knowing the environment too. What are the big do's and don'ts of the actual draft day environment when it comes to the auction?
Well, one of the biggest things, auction drafts can take multiple hours, and this is part of why it's fun. Like, that might sound daunting, but think about getting together with all your league mates. Everyone comes together, we order pizza, someone brings chips. We're going to spend 4 hours with each other drinking drinks and having fun. It's a war of attrition. When you're in there for 3 to 4 hours, it really is. Because you've got so much time where it's like, all right, players are being bid up on. I'm not going to take that player. You can't just like check out because you'll just miss stuff. So you always have to be in the moment. It's 4 hours that's going to determine the rest of your season. You have to be in the moment. Make sure, and I know this is a big thing, you don't want to partake of too much adult beverages or anything else of that nature, because auction drafts is all about your strategy and your bidding. It's not just, all right, who comes to me like it is in a snake draft, but you've got to make smart, cognizant decisions on how much money do I want to spend on players. If you're a little tipsy, it gets mighty difficult to be able to keep all that straight in your head, and trust me, your league mates will love it. They will try to feed you as much alcohol as possible.
Again, I feel targeted right now, but
sorry.
you know what? Find a way to survive in advance.
The other thing is, don't be that guy that doesn't show up with any of your paperwork. Don't ask for a cheat sheet from somebody else. Show up ready to go, because you need to do all your own research. If you're showing up to an auction draft, which is just another level of strategy on top of a regular snake draft, you need to make sure that you are buttoned up and good to go across the board. Don't show up asking, hey, can I borrow your magazine? Hey, can I borrow that? Can you print off another cheat sheet for me? Like, make sure that you show up ready to go. There's a lot of distractions, especially within a 3 to 4 hour time period. A lot of times people come down, spouses, kids, all of these different things going on. Make sure that you are in the zone, have designated breaks that you and the rest of the league decide that you want to take. All right, we're going to take 15 minutes here. That's your time. Check in with your significant other. Say, hey, listen, I really appreciate you. You're not allowed to text me. Don't call me. Right now, this is time for me to just do this draft. If there's an emergency, obviously everything is, whatever. But I'm here to do a thing, and I'm going to crush this league, and I'm going to bring home that trophy for you. That's how you end the conversation.
See, this is why I knew me staying single for this long finally has become an advantage. I am going to be an auction draft
100%.
maverick
that
now.
Is so good.
Take that, Mom. So lonely.
Hey guys, thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more great ESPN streaming content, download the ESPN app and subscribe to ESPN Plus.